Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. We're going to talk about something pretty interesting today. What is trolling according to psychology? So if you've spent any amount of time on the internet at all, you're going to have heard of this idea of the troll and something called trolling. So first off, I want to give a pretty good definition of trolling just so that we're all on the same page here. Basically, trolling is this kind of antisocial behavior where you are purposefully trying to antagonize people, and it generally happens in forums or in comments where you can remain anonymous. So a troll will say things that they don't necessarily even agree with. They will sometimes tell blatant lies. Social norms are ignored. The troll doesn't really care if people are getting upset at their statements. They are trying to rile people up. Basically, the purpose is to try and upset people around them. But why does this behavior occur in the first place? According to psychological science, there's basically two schools of thought here. The first is that trolling happens because of something having to do with the situation. So being within an anonymous sphere where nobody knows actually who you are brings about trolling. The second frame of mind is that it's something about the person, right? Certain people just tend to be predisposed to this type of behavior. So we're going to explore both of these perspectives in this video and answer the question, does trolling happen because you're anonymous and it just brings out the worst in people? Or does trolling happen because certain types of people are just kind of mean and likely to do kind of nasty things? But who are the trolls? Who are these people that are writing nasty comments in people's comment sections here on YouTube or on forums where they basically go onto a forum and they say something really nasty that they know is going to rile everybody up? Who are these people? Psychology has tried to answer this question since trolling is this really interesting modern day phenomena, thanks to the internet giving us all of this anonymity. And what we know is that trolls tend to have a very specific kind of personality profile. But before I get into that, I have to explain what the dark tetrad is. You might have heard of this if you like personality, if you're into psychology, you may have heard of the dark tetrad. It's basically these 4 different personality traits that are considered to be dark, because they tend to be very malevolent, unhelpful traits when it comes to being able to function well in society. These traits are considered to be very problematic. So ideally, you would not want to be high in any of these traits. So the first trait in the dark tetrad is psychopathy. And somebody who is very high in psychopathy is unfortunately really going to lack empathy. They're not going to understand the emotions of others, even really care about what others are feeling. They're going to be more selfish types of people. They tend to be highly impulsive, almost to the point of lacking a lot of self-control. They may sort of do things just to do them and to get a thrill from them, not really caring what happens to other people in the process. And they may do things even at other people's expense. So that's psychopathy. The second trait of the dark tetrad is called sadism. So somebody who's very high in sadism will basically enjoy the suffering of others. They may enjoy inflicting pain on people or humiliating people. Doing this actually brings them satisfaction, it brings them enjoyment, and so on and so forth. The third trait of the dark tetrad is called Machiavellianism, and someone who's high in Machiavellianism is basically going to be your classic manipulator. They are really, really good at getting what they want out of people, not really caring what happens to them, and basically you can think of this as the ends justify the means. They are willing to do whatever it takes to get what they want. They're very self-serving in that way. And finally, the fourth trait of the dark tetrad is narcissism. So someone who is very narcissistic, as the name implies, is going to be pretty self-oriented. They're really only going to care about themselves. They think very highly of themselves, almost to the point of delusion. And they also tend to be very attention-seeking. So they think they're great, and they also want other people to think that they're great. Now, the reason why I bring up the dark tetrad is because what we know about trolls is that they really tend to embody these 4 dark traits. So basically, a troll is usually going to be somebody who has kind of an undesirable personality, and they are embodying all of these problematic personality tendencies that would lend their behavior to be really unhelpful and really unproductive for society. So trolls tend to be highly sadistic. They enjoy the suffering of others. Trolls like to see you in pain. That brings them enjoyment. They want to see you get riled up. Trolls also tend to have higher self-esteem, so they think more well of themselves, but this is specific to those trolls that also happen to be very highly sadistic. So self-esteem is not usually an indicator of trolling behavior, unless, of course, you also happen to be a sadist. Trolls also tend to be more psychopathic. So they lack empathy, they don't really care about others, they're just looking for that thrill. And then to a lesser extent, trolls also tend to be more narcissistic and have higher levels of Machiavellianism. So they do tend to be higher on all four of these different dark traits, but the most important traits here are sadism and psychopathy. In terms of just regular personality traits, so if you haven't heard of the Big Five, check out my video up here. I will link it to you. When we're looking at just regular, helpful personality traits, we know that trolls tend to be more extroverted, so they tend to be more sociable, they like to interact with people, they get energy from interacting with others. They also tend to be more assertive, which is an aspect that goes along with extroversion. And trolls tend to be highly disagreeable. So they don't really care about getting along well with others. Conflict doesn't bother them. In fact, they may actually seek out conflict. And in combination with sadism, this kind of makes sense because conflict tends to not be a very enjoyable activity for most people. And trolls want to cause you that pain, right? Sadists want to cause you that pain. And some research has actually looked at trolling in relation to different types of humor, which is pretty interesting. And what we find is that trolls have kind of a dark sense of humor. In other words, they have a very aggressive sense of humor. So what they think is funny is ridiculing somebody, or bullying somebody, or pushing somebody to the point where they're getting mad. So even their sense of humor tends to be pretty messed up compared to your average, healthy, normally functioning type of person. So a troll enjoys watching other people in distress, they enjoy laughing at other people. Some types of trolls may also like it when other people laugh at them. There's kind of a lot going on here psychologically with trolls. Trolls are also more likely to be male when we look specifically at gender, and this may have something to do with the fact that males do tend to be gendered to be more competitive, more dominant, and all of these different things that may sort of lend themselves to those unhealthy kinds of behaviors, in extreme circumstances, of course. So basically, there definitely is a profile of a troll, but we also know that trolling tends to happen more often when people can be anonymous. It's not so much going to happen in everyday life where you know that it's Joe Schmo who said these nasty things to your face or is spreading rumors about you or whatever it is. I mean, yes, sometimes it does happen in real life, of course, but it happens way more often when it comes to anonymous online places. So the question remains, what is it? Is it something about the person themselves that is related to trolling, or is it something about the situation that people find themselves in? And the big question of importance here is, can anybody be a troll? Is it just anybody, or is it only specific types of people? Now, looking at this research that I've shared with you in terms of trolling, what we know is that trolling is not something that most people are going to do. Think about yourself. I am assuming that you are a pretty normally functioning person who would not find enjoyment from posting rude comments about somebody or trying to purposely antagonize somebody. Okay? I mean, maybe you are, but I mean, well, that would be quite unfortunate. Most people are not going to do this type of behavior, even if they're anonymous. Most people will still want to adhere to social norms. They will still care about what other people think or what other people are feeling. Being anonymous is not going to change that about you. So when it comes to trolling, the good news is that trolls are not just anybody. They do tend to fit more of this kind of dark personality profile that I've described in terms of the dark tetrad, as well as a couple of other different personality traits. Being anonymous does make it more likely, yes. But once again, even if you're anonymous, that does not mean that you're going to be more likely to engage in trolling behavior unless you're already kind of predisposed to certain types of behaviors. So we know that trolling is not just for anybody. It tends to be, people with sort of an unhealthy personality profile who are doing these sorts of things. But how can you actually deal with trolling? I mean, obviously when we're on an online forum or we have a YouTube channel and we see comments, whatever it might be, I mean, nobody likes to be trolled. It's pretty annoying, right? It's downright mean. It can be pretty vicious at times. So what are some of the best ways to actually deal with trolling when it happens? Well, sort of the whole notion of don't poke the troll, in my opinion, is actually probably the best advice. You have to think about the motivations of the troll. Like, why are they trolling you? They're trolling you because they want a response out of you. They want a retort. They want you to feel angry and feel all these negative emotions and get riled up and basically react at them. Remember that trolls, generally speaking, enjoy other people's pain. They might get enjoyment from it. They might think it's funny. They might use your pain to kind of attack you again, to use it against you, so to speak. It sort of depends, but basically, a troll wants you to respond. If you don't respond to a troll, well, they have nothing to use against you. Their behavior is not going to be reinforced. They're probably going to leave you alone, hopefully, and go bother somebody else. So, my advice is basically listen to what people are telling you. Don't poke the troll. It's not because they want attention, though. It's more because they just enjoy seeing other people suffer, and they don't really care if you're upset, other than the fact that they think it's funny. And if somebody is just not leaving you alone, don't forget, on these anonymous websites, there's usually some kind of a function where you can report the person if it's getting really bad, or you can just block them and then never have to see their comments again. So if they're not getting the hint, just use those resources that you have available to you. If somebody's being mean to you, you don't have to take it. Just block them, then you'll never have to see their comments again. Now, I have linked in the description box down below a couple of open access scientific articles that I was able to find in my research. If you're interested in this idea of trolling and who the trolls are according to psychology, definitely check those out. As I mentioned, they're all open access, so you can read these articles for free. You don't need access to a journal or anything like that. Let me know in the comments down below what your experiences are with trolling. Have you found a better way to deal with them than what I suggested? I would be really interested to know. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. It helps support my channel. Also ding that notification bell if you'd like to be alerted as to when I upload videos in the future. And of course, please go ahead and subscribe if you're not already, if you'd like to see more fun psychology related content from me. That is everything that I have for you today. Thank you again for stopping by, and I will see you next time.